If I told you there are non-Muslim doctors in America who have circumcised young girls to cure a variety of claimed problems and diseases, you might not be inclined to believe me. Watch this video by CatRocks333.
So according to this news story, Cornell's New York Presbyterian Hospital, which is supposed to be one of the top 10 hospitals in the country, has been operating on girls as young as 6 years old who have clitorimegaly? Clitorimegaly? Clitorimegal? I have no idea how to pronounce that word. But it's basically the horrific, life-threatening condition of having a larger than average clitoris. Yeah. Dr. Dix Poppas describes the procedure as cutting out the clitoris's shaft and saving the glands or the tip for reattachment. Now, he calls this a nerve-sparing clitoroplasty. And clitoroplasty? I have no idea how to pronounce that word either. I'm just going to say clitoroplasty. And I think we all know that nerve-sparing procedures don't always work. And I guess he somehow feels that he has some sort of moral high ground because he's not as bad as the vagina murderers in Somalia. So this doctor pretty much cuts out everything else in the clitoris except for the tip and then reattaches it to the vagina. This is supposed to be a humane, necessary procedure. But of course he has tests to make sure that the girls can still feel that the nerves are still there. And how does Dr. Poppas test to see if the nerves are spared? Good old-fashioned vibrators, of course. Apparently his nurse practitioner developed a series of follow-up sensory tests involving Q-tips, their fingernails, and vibrators. Let's keep in mind that these girls are as young as 6 years old. You can find some really good data at the website for the Journal of Urology, which I'll link to in the description. Of course, there's no evidence that large clitorises pose any sort of psychological or physical risk to these girls. There is, however, substantial evidence that these clitoroplasties themselves pose a risk of sexual dysfunction and psychological harm. So why are Ivy League doctors performing this dangerous, damaging, and unnecessary procedure? Girls with larger clitorises are more likely to identify as lesbians when they grow up than girls with smaller clitorises. I'll leave the raging to you. So there are parents that are sending their children as young as 6 years old to have half of their clits cut off because they want to take every preventative measure they can to make sure that their kid doesn't turn out gay. So this mutilation of the clitoris is somehow supposed to prevent lesbianism. Parents are forcing their children to undergo this procedure because they want them to have a normal sexual development. Facepalm! What apparently these parents, who should very well have their children taken away from them, don't understand is that this sickening procedure that they're forcing their children to go through is more damaging, more traumatizing, and more likely to lead to abnormal sexual development than any big clitoris ever could. Victims of this type of procedure say that the worst part of it are the follow-up sensory exams. Yes. Children as young as 6 years old have to lie back in Dr. Poppas' chair, have vibrators applied to their clitorises, and report on the sensation. Because their parents don't want them to have issues with sexual development.
If you'd like to see more of Kat's videos, you can find a link to her channel in the description below. Tomorrow, I'm going to release a 2-part video with many more examples of female circumcision conducted by non-Muslim American medical doctors.